Hi, everybody. Just give me 1 second to share out, and then I will get the show started. So hold on 1 second. Thank you for your patience. What was that? Okay, thank you guys so much for being patient as I share out and use technology for what it's great for. My name is Garrett Wilhelm, and welcome to At the Gardens, episode 10. As always, it's been a little while since we've been on, but it's just because I've been super busy, guys. I've been real busy making schools in the area, providing awesome experiences for kids, and that's what I do. I'm the owner of Creative Gardens Ashburn Village and CEO of Creative Garlands. Creative Gardens Early Education. We are a company that provides personalized education schools for Loudoun County, with the first being Creative Gardens Ashburn Village and the second being the Ohana School opening up in January in Aldi. That was a breathful. As always, I have amazing guests on the show with me, great Loudoun County representatives, and this one I found just by simply scrolling down the Loudoun County Social Collective feed. Thank you, Aaliyah. Aaliyah writes, let me show. She wrote me a radio voice. Thank you. People have said that before. I can even go even more radio voice. But, oh, thank you so much, Aaliyah. So anyway, I want to kind of give some context into how I found this guest. This guest was found in the Loudoun County Social Collective page. I saw this amazingly cut video that was done where she was basically, our guest was walking through Famous Toastery, one of my favorite spots in the world. And it got me deeper thinking in, like, well, why is she doing this? I think it's so awesome that she's supporting local businesses. So that's where the conversation started. I reached out to her and she agreed to come on the show, and we're thinking about doing some stuff together later on. So without further ado, I introduce to you Jamie Craddox. She is a resident of Loudoun County and a realtor in the area, but she's far more than that. And I want to talk to her about that. So here we go. We're going to bring her on right now. Hold on 1 second. Awesome. Jamie.
Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you so much for doing the show today. It's a pleasure to have you on. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for inviting me. So this is exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. I was excited to talk to you and hear all about your projects and things. So the way we always start out our show here at the Gardens is we do what's called an origin story. So if you are, I was a dork and a comic book reader growing up, and so we always used to read X-Men #1 to figure out who the X-Men were. So Jamie, you're a realtor, you're a community leader. Talk to me about kind of what led you to, one, kind of reach out and be almost an entrepreneur. Well, really an entrepreneur in that sense of making your own schedule and career. What brought you to working in the community? Tell me a little bit about you.
To working in the community. Well, I've been doing real estate for about 18 years. I started in my early to mid 20s, and it was always interest to me. I love my job. I love the excitement people have when they find the home they're going to live in and they get to spend that time with their family. And for other reasons that it really brought an interest to me, I did it for 10 years in Florida, and I never really had like a path or a why or a how. And then I've been in Virginia for 7 years, and I kind of started really paying attention, like, what are people doing? How are they getting business? What's the key? How do I make myself stand out? What's the next level? How do I grow? How do I help others? So about 3.5, 4 years ago, I joined a networking group, a BNI. And I all of a sudden just was like, this is what I have been missing. What they do there and what they've taught me is kind of more of a giver's gain mentality. And I really saw that by just giving to others and helping out, it really does come around to help you out. So don't mind the
No, I think that's great. And we're going to get to that later.
Learners in the background, I think they're hungry.
I love it. No, so, what I love about that is the giver's gain, right? We had a little bit of a pre-conversation prior to this, and we talked a little bit about that. It's the idea in business and just in life in general, right? Like, if you give of yourself, and for me, that give is almost without expectation, right? Like, don't expect a gain from it. If you're giving in that sense, karma, which is really how I look at it, is a real thing and helps play into that.
Yeah. So another thing was my brother owns a brewery. He's a brewer in Jacksonville, Florida, and I watched also too, like during COVID, the restaurant industry and watching how he's struggling. Just to keep, they're keeping the doors open and selling enough beer just to keep the place, afloat. But I see how hard everyone's struggling, and that's what made me start to think, like, you know what? Right now, everybody's not doing anything. Everybody's scared. Everybody's pulling back. How can I help these people? How can I help them? If it's showing somebody the inside of their establishment that they're taking, COVID-19 seriously, and they're being precautious with sanitizing things, cleaning things. Setting up things for everyone's wearing a mask, setting up things so people feel comfortable going inside. Then that's what gave me the idea. And we kind of started small on a few things. And now we're like, every time my wonderful videographer and marketing genius, Aaliyah Dastor with Alamon Photography, I couldn't do it without her. So she's literally the brain of all this. And she's incredible. So I am so grateful for her. So.
Yeah, no, I think we all are. And Aaliyah's done some really great. And obviously we've worked in the past together, which I think is fantastic. But, one of the things that I kind of pick up there is that you're a realtor. And I think when being a realtor, you are exposed to and making tons of meaningful connections with families in the area. And, most people kind of leverage that to do business. And I think it's super powerful that you're kind of leveraging it to bring attention to really great causes. And one of those things is, bringing business to small businesses. And so, again, how I found you was seeing this really well put together video about a local business. And for me, like in the beginning of opening my school, my first school, we had a big event where we did a movie night, an outdoor movie night on a big, almost like a inflatable screen, like huge screen. And we watched Aladdin. But part of that was to bring food trucks in to do the same thing, right? Because people don't realize that when everything closed, it also cut so many people's livelihoods off. And so I think the importance of what you're doing and being able to point people to business, to say that people are still open and still operating. Let me ask you this: from these videos that you've done already, what is the overall feedback? What has that brought upon? Like when you put the first video out, what was the response after that?
Well, I kind of crawled inside of a hole for a week. No, it took me a month to watch them. I always good. I haven't seen it yet. No.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get comfortable on camera and comfortable with that. And I'm just say, you know what? It's just bigger. It's not about me. Sorry.
No, it's all good. This is life.
Yeah, this is life right now, right? So everybody can relate. Anyway, so that distracted me a little.
No, it's all good. We were talking a little bit about the response about the first video that you put out.
So the first video, they started smaller. People had really good response. People were really excited, like the owners, the business owners. Most people were like, thank you so much for doing this. They started seeing like, oh, she's doing this. So the last time we did it, the few places we showed up, like Slapfish, the owner had he had food ready. So did Angela at the Famous Toastery. So and people were like really getting into it because they're like, wow, we see what she's really doing for us. We're going to make the best of it. And I've actually had a few wonderful ladies on these websites reach out and message me and say, I love your videos. I'm going to follow you. I was like, what? So that's encouraging. to know that other people are enjoying this. So,
Well, yeah, and I think overall the way in which we grab people's attention is pivoting. I don't think that you could have done the same kind of effort to help small businesses the day and age of magazines. Like, to have a magazine article out there doesn't have the same impact as being able to, cut these really beautiful videos and provide, a visibility to certain businesses in the area. Like, I know that personally, and this is kind of the way things work. I saw your video, and then 2 days later, I was eating brunch at Famous Toastery just because I wanted to make sure that I had already supported them, right? But I also want to make sure that I give that extra support, because if you have a job right now, right, like, and if you are making money, you should be extremely grateful, because there are so many out there that are just not. So once your first video hit and then it started kind of building up traction, I see this almost snowball building. Is there any other do you continue on planning to do these videos and these projects?
Yeah, I do. So we're just gonna see how it evolves. And I was asked to be the Brambleton Spotlight Realtor, so we're gonna work on a video for that.
Cool.
Honored for that. They've only asked a handful of agents. I have another lady that wants to just message me yesterday. She's like, hey, if you need to have someone sit down with a glass of wine and have a interview, I would be happy. And she works in the community in Leesburg. So I'm making a lot of connections. And also with the networking group that I've been part of, this helps them too, because the more people I can connect to them, to bring in referrals for everybody in our group, because they help me a lot. They give me a lot of referrals, so I try to give back to everybody. And also, then I can be the person that all my clients will call and say, oops, I don't know. Can you hear me?
No, you're fine. I can still hear you.
I want to be the person my clients will call and say, hey, do you have somebody for this? Do you have somebody for that? Can you recommend me somebody? And I want to make sure, too, those people we can trust. Absolutely.
And again, just the more we can kind of support these local businesses, and BNIs normally do that, right? Like, I think that's the focus. It's already a huge ask to be an entrepreneur, to go out by yourself and do it. And I think the only way in which you can kind of get that done successfully, and mind you, let's not forget, guys, that, Loudoun County is no different, that a good portion of the things that really sustain us are small business. And, even with the shutdown, when we had all of our small businesses closed, yet Walmart was still open, like, we took a deeper cut and hit because of that. Kimmy writes this morning, Kimmy Huggins writes, good morning. So I guess these are your friends, which I love. I think I've seen Kimmy's stuff on social media and all the social pages that we're involved in.
Started also the Facebook group of the women of Loudoun County with over 10,000 ladies.
Wow.
I don't want to say, I think it's just women, but I'm not the expert on that. So.
Yeah, and I know that they're doing, Aaliyah and Kimmy, and I believe somebody else I saw are doing a large project for Laws, correct?
Yes.
Loudoun County Women's Abused Women's Shelter.
Yeah, with the book of many headshot for the holidays, and they're donating 100% of the proceeds to Laws. So that's something else that we could share. And Aaliyah's getting us something to help me share on Facebook a little bit better. So
I love it. I love it.
They are, and that lady Aaliyah too, she just goes and goes and goes. I'm like, she's even got me beat.
Yeah, it's funny because I think Aaliyah and I kind of in business were coming up right around the same time and starting our businesses and things like that. And I think once you get, I think like minds draw to each other, right? Like, you notice people and you notice what they're doing, and you almost you take some from them, but you also give some to them because you understand how that life is. And yeah, Aaliyah has done some really great stuff and great work. And, hopefully I look forward to working with her in the future as well too. But I think overall, what you're doing in support of local businesses is the reason why I found it really compelling to have you on, because local businesses like me, a lot of people are afraid to send their kids to school. Mind you, I totally understand that. I also understand the side of parents that need their kids in school. So, you have to kind of sit in the middle and say that both make sense. And we've had to really, put it out there that what we do here specifically is safe and clean, and for the same reason that restaurants have to do the same thing. So that's the transition. That's my segue into talking a little bit about, so how many kids do you have, Jamie, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, my husband and I, we have 6 kids together. So I have 4 stepkids that, I've been with my husband for 22 years. So
For sure.
I can say they're mine. And
Yep.
then we had my son who's 21 and my daughter who's 14.
Wow. So you have 6 kids. I have 5 kids in a blended family. So it's pretty crazy that you one-upped me there.
I did.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But so let's talk a little bit about that. How many are distance learning right now?
So maybe 0. No, I think one is
That's awesome.
And we have a friend. We've had, trying to get them together with friends whenever possible. You never used to do a sleepover on a school night, but now it's kind of like, what, they kind of need some socialization a little bit. So, and helps with accountability and getting through the day. So there's definitely challenges with that. And like right now, they kind of came down to the kitchen. They're having, breakfast between classes. So,
but they're self-sufficient in making their own breakfast. So you should be.
And I am like, I can't even believe or understand what all these moms are going through with like 1st, 2nd, or 3rd graders. Like if I had to help with algebra this week in a civics assignment in English, and I was going to lose my mind. I can't having to sit down and like really get into every single thing, because there's no way these younger early years kids are getting it without full attention from their parents. So my hat's off to all these moms and dads and teachers and people trying to work with their kids at home, because they need to be in school.
Yeah. And we have kids here that are Loudoun County kids, and they're in school, and I can attest to that, is that it's such a tall order to ask any kiddo, especially 8th grade and below, like, okay, here's what school looked like before. You had a lot of heavy implementation. You had a teacher in there ensuring that everything was going well. There were social cues that kids could pick up on in the environment. And, if a teacher was kind of frustrated with how they were acting, they could give a look and they would know. Now it's just kind of happening via Zoom, and kids are having I've seen kids, we have an 8th grader ourselves. I've seen kids, with blankets over their heads during class. So like, it's not the same, and we know that. Would you say, I'm really interested, especially with a job like yours, on how that looks at home. Are you spending a good portion of your time when you're at home or your husband's at home managing your child's work every day?
Well, with my husband's job, I mean, he's pretty much leaves at 6:30. He doesn't have the flexibility. He's a DOD contractor, all federal government. I mean, his job's pretty stressful. So we try to tag team, do everything together. A lot of that falls on me, and that's fine, but it is definitely all day. So for example, some days this week I've driven have to come in and check in. So it's kind of crazy. And then of course in the evening we have soccer. So we're back in the start of Leesburg. So sometimes I'll try to schedule appointments like while she's at soccer. I try to multitask and just get as much done as possible. But it's not easy, because I have to also make sure homework's done, check in with the teachers. It's kind of crazy right now. So we're just trying to keep our head above water.
Yeah.
I'm sure all teachers think I'm crazy too.
No, I mean, look, I think it's an unrealistic expectation to think that every kid is at home with a parent next to them. That's what I keep thinking about is, imagine the kiddo that doesn't have the luxury that both parents have to work. Maybe they're both in service-based industries that they can't do from home, right? So imagine that kiddo at home by themselves. And what happens with that kindergartner, right? Like kindergartner that's sitting at home alone, which is happening, and not being able to kind of understand or have that assistance. I think, people have their opinions on where kids should be right now. And I tend to, again, I don't want to take a public stance against that, but for me, it's more so about understanding the perspective of folks just like you in how your experience is going. And of course, you said it, you're like, I want my kids back in school. How do you think we do that safely? What's your opinion on that?
I have zero opinions on that.
Got it.
Because that's
Got
a
it.
very touchy subject.
Sure.
I don't know the answer to that, and I think there's a lot of people struggling with the answer to that.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of parents praying for their kids to go back to school, because everything with us ends up in a fight. I don't know how everybody else's kid is, but as soon as I'm like, this is what needs to be done, you're yelling at me, and then then it's just, I'm not yelling at you, and then next thing you know, nothing got done, and it's just hard.
Of
Because
course.
they don't look at me as a teacher.
Sure.
They just look at me as parent telling them what to do. So I opted not to get a degree in early education teaching, because that's not what I'm designed to do.
That's right. And
real estate, I mean, my job, and
yeah.
I go to teaching school. So
well, and what's interesting too is as an educator, and this is something I've done for. Hi, puppy. We have a guest on the show.
yes, Miss Lincoln. Sorry, so it's crazy, and I have 3 dogs. So sorry.
Oh, very cute. But as an educator, what I do know is that as people are literally screaming back and forth at each other online about this, at the end of the day, I think it's safe to say that we all realize, no matter what position or side that you're on, is that our kids are going to have a long-term long-term effects from all of this experience. I think there's an underlying anxiety in society right now because of COVID. And I think it's really important to keep a very close eye on what your kids are doing at home and really how their mental health is, because this has been so very interesting. And you had mentioned that your kiddo was in soccer. Have you been doing a lot of outside activities with your kiddos, even at the start of quarantine when things were really on lockdown?
We've been trying as much as we can, and it gets hard because even with having space, you start to get bored of the same things or running out of ideas. I think it was a lot harder in the beginning. There was a lot of boredom. Luckily, we had a few kids in the neighborhood. We're still allowed to communicate with each other. We did spend 3 weeks at our house in South Florida, just because.
Wow.
In May, but we drove straight there, stayed in the house.
Sure.
Home, but it was nice just to get a little bit of a break. But it was hard with work to do that. So it's.
Where in South Florida, if you don't mind me asking?
So we have. I have a home in the Florida Keys.
Oh, which key?
Summerlin Key. So mile marker, like 25 miles from Key West. We lived there for 15, 20 years. So did not want to sell
You
that.
lived there for 15 or 20 years. People don't know that Keys life. It's quite it's an awesome life. But did you guys have some struggle when the storms came through?
Yeah. So we're actually still, that's a whole nother story. Irma took our roof in 2017. So we've been really struggling. So that's the other thing is, I haven't been able to say, oh, I'd love to just take some time and spend with my family and help them. We've been kind of under the gun. That was a rental property. We had a mortgage on it. We had to pay.
Yikes.
Now we have 2 mortgages. We're not completely built back, but we just got livable by this spring. So
well, I can see that
struggle.
It's good to hear that, and I can see that you're making all the right moves. Just in my experience in business as an entrepreneur, to get that done and to get some more exposure to you and yeah, I have a friend that has a house in Key West proper, like in downtown, right next to, is it Duval Street? Is that the main street? Yeah. So right off of Duval Street, and they had some issues. They're having kind of the same issues that you're having, which is, it took a while for people to even want to go back there to vacation at. And so it's just interesting. And then you hear about Florida and how they're, that they're kind of operating in a completely different way during COVID than a lot of us are.
I was for better to enroll her back in the school there and just go back. I mean, of course, I'm tempted. I'm not going to do that, but I was like,
sure,
go there and just put her in school.
And I think it's important to call this out, Jamie. I think it's important to say, no matter who you are, right, or what your opinion is politically, because after last night, I'm like, I want to hide in a hole somewhere on both sides. But I think it's important to point out that we're just trying to do best for our kids in our situation from our perspective, right? And I think we're so, look at you and I. I guarantee you we both have definitive views on what should be done. But it's such a weird culture these days that we have to be so careful. We have to be so careful in what we say. And it's hard. It's really hard because ultimately at the end of the day, where we're both sitting is we love our kids and we want what's absolutely best for them. And you can be a liberal and want your kids in school. You can be a conservative and want to keep your kids home. Those things are not like, it's ridiculous now.
There's a lot of, I get it. I agree.
You can feel certain way, you know what I mean? Like you can feel different ways about different things. That's called being an American. It's tough right now, especially with the school system issues, is because it's so polarized through politics that I think the kids are being left behind in that sense.
Suffering. Because about like, I'm still have socialization when I'm meeting my clients, going to work. I could drive somewhere. I mean, you take for granted just driving somewhere and going to Costco or going to some small business where they're stuck at home. Not that how often do they want to come with me to the store? But I'm just saying, and it's just harder. There's not activities where they're getting together as groups and socializing. So I definitely see it's really the kids that are suffering.
Yeah, and I think I think it's a wake up call. It's like, guys, pay more attention to your kiddos. Let's really think about what's best for them, because
the border collies are suffering too.
I know dogs are suffering. What was interesting is in like early to mid June, I had COVID, and my fiance had COVID, and my youngest daughter had COVID, and we were so worried that our dog, Livy Lou, would somehow get COVID. And because everybody else, mind you, we were in a blended family, so when we got the virus, we sent the rest of the kids off to their other parents. So we were really down to our daughter together, Kristen and I, my fiance. And of course, COVID spreads like crazy. So we knew that us three were going to get it, but we were so worried. We're like, puppy dog.
I'll get it.
She never got it. So that's a good thing, right?
Cats, right? Only cats. So you don't have any tigers, right?
Yeah, I'm not a cat fan, and I will put that stance out. Look, I was about to say, I will say something about it online. Cats, I feel like whoever created the universe created cats first and was like, no, we did something wrong here, and then put dogs on Earth. And we're like, yes. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. If folks want to find you, Jamie, online, what would be the best way to find you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube. JamieCraddox.com is my website. It's Jaime, so it's like Jaime. But I love it. I finally did buy the domain, so if you accidentally misspell it, it will still come to me. I realized that a few years in. I was like, I started catching a lot of missed emails that way. But so JamieCraddox.com or in Facebook, I think it's Homes by Jamie Craddock, and Instagram is Jamie Sells Northern Virginia.
I love it. Yeah, guys, if you need a realtor in this area, and not just Percival, right? Like, what are the areas you cover?
Yeah, so I work and you can find on Zillow too. You can check out my profile, reviews. I work all Loudoun County, and I also work Fairfax and Prince Williams. So
awesome. So if you guys need a community focused, I'm going to point this way.
Okay.
Community focused realtor, which I'm a huge fan of. The tagline for my school is modern education, community focus. So we have lost our sense of community in this world. Folks like you are doing a great job of bringing it back, supporting local businesses the way they need to be supported. Keep an eye out for everything that Jamie is doing, guys. She's super impressive, and I wish you and your mission and your vision, and hopefully we work together and I can be a part of that and kind of help push your mission forward.
I'm up for ideas, right?
I love it.
I love that. Let's go with the flow. Let's have fun.
And I can attest to that. Jamie was super open in speaking with me. I love to do things for our community. I think it's really important. So thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on the show. I'm going to jump you off real quick to say goodbye. Everybody, check out her social media stuff. Check out her website. We really appreciate her having on. Hold on one second. And oops. There we go. And I'm back. My friends, thank you so much for joining me today here on At the Gardens, episode 10. Remember that you can find us on our YouTube channel at Creative Gardens Early Education. You can find all the previous episodes on At the Gardens on our website, www.creativegardensva.com. My goal with this show is to always provide you value, have interesting people on to talk about awesome subjects and projects. Jamie is no different. Her mission to kind of support local businesses in this area and add value, give, is so amazing. So thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, keep your head up and keep moving forward. Y'all have a fantastic day. We'll see you soon. Bye.